It recognizes our belief in God, our country, not just individuals, our country, our founding fathers codified this in the documents that founded this country. Our reliance, our belief in God, and our reliance upon God. Of that, there's just no debate on that. You may like it, may not like it. Declaration of Independence, we find these truths to be self-evident, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, of which are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It goes on in the Constitution to say we are putting together this Constitution in a preamble to secure the blessings, not only for ourselves, for posterity. And that Constitution followed with a Bill of Rights that enumerated those godly rights given to man, including the very first one, which was a right to believe in God and to express that belief anytime, anywhere, including the public square.
33 million. It's proven to the money investors that people want something to feed their souls, not just their worst desires.
Absolutely.
And
yes, indeed.
This kind of sums up my entire dialogue career on the heat of the night. You ready for this? Okay, this is it. My 7 years on the heat of the night. My dialogue all summarized into this. Get right on it, Chief.
But Bubba's my name. I like my iced tea sweet and my women the same. I'm your brown-haired badge here in little old Sparta, but nobody's bigger or tougher or smarter. If you're looking to fight, best not be with me. Gonna be held tight, well now we'll just see. You never know in the heat of the night on TNT. Heat of the night on TNT. Now I don't put on any airs, but then I ain't no slob. Just a redneck boy with a blue-collar job. The ladies I date, they gonna have 'em some fun, 'cause I'm a big hunk of crime fighting son of a gun. So if you're looking to fight, come on up in the ring. You wanna be held tight, just about anything can happen in the heat of the night on TNT. Hubba, 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 heat of the night on TNT. Yeah.
To the mayor's office. And now, behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
And welcome back to Alan Autry No Retreat. I'm old Alan Autry, so honored and humbled to have you with us here on Taco Tuesday Live. KXEX Radio at Manchester Center. Been off for a few days, and
Vicky, I know you sent me a little thing on Facebook, and I look at the Facebook stuff, folks. I don't do it as often as I should. I'm going to start looking at your comments more. I guess it's got some stuff going on, and it's life. Life happens, and kind of juggling a lot of balls up in the air there, but gonna get to it. I promise you. And Vicky, thank you for your concern whether the show is going to keep going or not, because it hadn't been on in a while. Absolutely, we're going to go as long as I can draw a breath. Maybe off from time to time. As I said, that happens here. But we're back here on Taco Tuesday, and welcome Bullet Bob Leoni.
Thank God.
My brother from another mother, but the same daddy in heaven.
There you go. Thank you. Good to be here again.
Yeah.
Man, it feels like I haven't been here in a long. It's only been a week.
Yeah, I know. It seems like
last Tuesday I was here, and it feels like I haven't been here. Well, probably about a week, I guess.
Yeah.
No, it seems longer than that. It really does.
Did I get any better looking?
You ask me that all the time, and I give you the same answer.
Well,
no.
I'm your buddy. Lie to me once in a while. Good buddies know when to lie to their friends.
And to make it sound true.
Yeah, come on, you'll snap out of it. Your wife left you, kids hate you, your dog bit you, but hey, it's okay.
Other than that,
you're gonna make it through this, buddy.
Fun time. But
folks, again, great to have you back. Thank you for your loyalty, not only on the radio, but as I said, social media. We're on live today. On Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Isn't it amazing to sit back and think sometimes, especially for old dudes like us, that conceivably people could be listening and watching this all over the world?
Yeah, amazing. Totally.
I sometimes take a step back and think about that.
Well, considering some of the radio stations I worked at went down the block,
that
was their maximum power. And to think that technology has advanced so far that we could literally be worldwide is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I mean,
amazing.
stuff we deal with, we have now, cell phones. I mean, it's like stuff we saw in Star Trek. The series going, well, that'll never happen. That's silly to even think of.
Electric cars.
Who
would have thought of that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Well, how about, you're out in the middle of a field. I mean, I grew up on a farm. You're in the big city, Riverdale, 2,500. One of them city slickers.
More cows than people.
Yeah, but I grew up out on the farm, and the only kind of work I did was farm work, driving a tractor every now and then. They let you do that at 15 years old.
Oh yeah,
and nobody got hurt. It's amazing. And OSHA laws came in here in California and just blew it for every kid that wanted to learn how to work. But the thought that I could be back then, if you had a thought going, someday they're going to have a telephone that's going to be the size of my palm, and I can be on this tractor and call anybody in the world and almost instantly get through to them. I would say you're out of your mind. That stuff,
Well, when the first company I worked for in insurance, not the first company, but the first company where I had a vehicle, back in 1990, car phones were just coming in. So
old suckers.
I got a car phone, and it was installed right next to me.
Oh, well, excuse me. You have a car phone?
Oh, this thing was huge. I mean, the phone was like that big, but boy, we thought we were in tall cotton when we had that car phone. And I thought, well, it's not going to get any better than this. This is the ultimate.
Right.
You have a car phone. I can actually call.
Remember, it get real hot, those old phones, and burn your ear?
Well, you couldn't stay on it too long.
No.
And now look what
you can feel that radiation going right in that brain, man. That old tumor's starting to form. I remember those phones would get so hot, even when they got the small ones out. But I remember driving in LA and looking over in a traffic jam. I was sitting there wishing, trying to get home. And I was going to be like 2.5, 3 hours behind what, when your family worries about you. And I looked over next to me, and there was a guy with one of those big old phones with the antenna up there, just talking away.
The antenna.
Going away, and I looked over, and he looked at me and kind of gave me hey, don't you wish you were
I'm
me?
Somebody.
You wish you were me? And I gave him a look like, yeah, I wish I was.
Yeah, it's amazing.
All right, as the old, that's a danger, Guillermo, if you're listening, which I know you are, you're battling back from being a little under the weather. When you let two old dudes, it's bad enough having one old dude behind a mic. Get an old guy that's pushing, you say I was pushing 70, now I'm dragging it. You get two old dudes. It is just going to be nostalgia, memory lane stuff. And you know what?
I really don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
We're to the point now where
go ahead and cancel us.
we'll talk about whatever we want to talk about.
We're going to get canceled in a few years anyway. We're good. Good.
There is a finality.
There
to
is a finale. Well, the Lord doesn't call it canceled. We call it coming home.
Yep.
We get to go home. The final cancellation.
The ultimate,
Except for the atheist. My goodness, don't
the
you?
ultimate cancellation.
Yeah, I want to talk to you today. I always say, atheists, please call up. You get a chance. We got some atheists listening to the phone. You know what? You need to talk, especially old atheists. If you're an old atheist and you're 70 and 80s, we got to talk. You don't want to be canceled at this age, and time is not your ally. So let's sit and we'll talk. I'll give you the whole show. You got the whole show. See if I can talk you into understanding that there is a God who loves you, regardless if you're an atheist or not. Loves you as much as he loves me and Bobby and every other believer out there. He loves you. So, all right, let's move on to this Georgia race.
Yep.
It has been described many times since we knew there was going to be a runoff as the most important election in the history of America. Now, I only chuckle at that because it just seems like every election I can remember had that kind of aspect, had somebody espousing that. Yeah, get out to vote because this is the most important election. But I think, Pearl, this is my question to you. As we dig down into this Georgia race, I think there may be something to that big time in terms of all of the issues, the conflation of issues facing our country internally, whether a kid should be allowed to go to school and not be programmed, socially engineered to believe that there's no mom, no dad, no aunt, no uncle, no gender. They're talking about birthing people, not pregnant women. You know what I'm getting at. And you have folks that believe you should just have an open border and let anybody come in when no other country on the face of the earth allows that. Because they got even a smidgen, they got a little smidgen of common sense left inside their country and their system and their politics. No country allows complete open borders. We can just run through there and not have some kind of check and balance on who you are, why you're coming here. Just give it. I mean, we can go to Mexico. We're good friends with Mexico, American United States, despite some differences and stuff times. But you've been down to Tijuana, right?
Yeah. Many years ago.
Right, and you get checked when you go in. They do at least an obligatory test and check you there, whether let you in, and rightfully they should. And then coming back. But you got all of these things, these changes in the name of progress coming at our country, and you look at this race in Georgia, tying it into that, where a 51-49, if Warnock wins, is a huge difference than a 50-50, right?
It's a big deal. Yep.
You have to split the committees. I don't want to get deep in the weeds on this thing, folks, but committee assignments are really important. But you don't just, at 51-49, you basically have a free ride through to your agenda. And because you got a president will sign anything that they send there, even with the. So what do you think about that? I tend to think there's a lot to that. I can see someone saying this little runoff, December, what is it, 6th?
Yep.
6th,
Day before Pearl Harbor.
Yes, exactly right. And I think there's some tie-ins to that you could make in terms of irony. But what's your take on that? Tell me, how big is this?
It's really big.
Okay, go ahead.
If I can be
you go.
So simplistic.
The floor.
It's really big. And I think what you have to do is you have to look at if Warnock wins, who's this going to affect down the line? Well, certainly it's going to affect the Senate. It's going to affect Schumer's ability to, as you say, promote his committees. It's going to really affect President Biden. It's going to affect Donald Trump, I think, as well, if he's planning on running for president. I don't know that it will affect McConnell as much because he's still going to be the minority. And I think he's shown that he's willing to at least listen to them. So I think it's going to have a profound effect on those folks, Schumer and his committee, ability to appoint committees. He's going to have a 51-49.
Yeah,
He's not going to need Kamala Harris to come in and break a vote.
And that cancels out Joe Manchin.
At least one vote, yes.
If Joe goes sideways on them, Kamala still comes in and breaks the tie.
They still have that.
Could they? Let me ask you this: do you think if this turns out and Warnock wins, they have this lame duck Congress? What I'm understanding is they have it ready to go to ram through every bit of woke legislation they can lay their hands on before the new Republican House takes over. Do you think there's a danger of them doing that?
Certainly.
Although
that's
because Warnock would still, even if he loses, actually, Warnock's still in there,
right,
until January.
I think if they were smart, they would try to do that. Wouldn't you think? Before you lose the majority.
I don't know if I would use the word smart enough. I know what you're saying. I think the word would be politically poisoned enough, religiously rabid enough to do that.
Yeah.
I think that they would say, and people would tell them, well, you know what this is going to do to your credibility. You're going to expose yourself as being a party being controlled totally by the woke left. This is no longer a party of Nancy Pelosi. She stepped away. The other leadership is getting old, Schumer and all that. And you have Hakeem Jeffries now coming in, the new face of the woke left, who's even further left than Nancy Pelosi. And they don't seem to care.
Exactly. That's the point.
That, let it happen.
Yep.
If we get a backlash and we're hated for a couple election cycles, we believe that having big government intrude in every aspect of your life and put forth an agenda that puts America last and other countries first, in particular China first, is best for the world. These are globalists. That's why, every other country is putting their country first. So take Trump out of it. You're going to say, make China good again. Make India good again. You don't think they're going to wear MAGA hats? MIGA, make India great again? Of course they are. And 90% of the population to go India.
Yeah, could be.
You China, make China great. McKiga, whatever. They're all over that. Make China great. Keep China great. MRS, make Ukraine great. Muga, make Ukrainian great again. That their hats are out there, it's just a different color. Why in the world would you listen to a party who recoils when you say, we need to make America great again? They put that as you're a Trumpster, you're politically poisoned by this Trump ideology. You have drank the Trump Kool-Aid, and if you want to make America great. I mean, would they accept MAG, take the out of it and just be MAG? Then that's not a Trump hat. Make America great. Would you accept that, MAGA, minus the letter? I mean, these people, go ahead, Pearl. I mean, it's obviously an un-American agenda.
I was just going to say that these people have these people. Some of these folks on
you can refer to them.
The far left, the woke
mm-hmm.
have a complete, total disdain, and I think in some cases a bona fide hatred for what this country is.
For anything traditional American.
Because they feel that this thing's been run, the country's been run the wrong way since day one.
Yeah.
And it isn't getting any better. And they have grievances, and it's because the way this country's been run, by golly, they're going to make changes, and they're going to make substantial, significant changes if they have the opportunity. Mm-hmm. I just think it's a lack of care and love for this country, regardless of the interesting dichotomy of that is that these people have reached levels, political levels. Some of these folks have been elected to a position that had they not been in America, in the U.S., they never would have reached that position. So there's a complete and total hypocrisy to me as to their agenda and the way they want to proceed with things. considering where they're at in life right now.
That concerns me. Obviously, that political leaders have those type of thoughts that really America lasts. Traditional America, the American family unit, the structure of a mom, a dad, a patriarchy, if you will. That is something that Black Lives Matter made a point to try to destroy. That's since been taken off their website.
Yes,
but you know that's the agenda. That America should weaken itself militarily, socially. You should get rid of all aspects of truly punishing crime. That it's criminal first, victim.
To have 8 shows in a row about that.
Second, right? The border, we talked about that, having a complete open border and what that means to the instability of this country. And in the numbers that are coming in, it wouldn't mean concerned about the instability in the long run. You're talking about a short term happening very quickly. The unstabilization of this country and all the institutions, you just can't pay. The food stamp program, the healthcare program cannot accommodate millions and millions coming in each day. I get some individuals could go crazy and have those type of feelings inside them that they'd prefer tyranny over freedom, that they'd look at the China model like Trudeau and say, boy, I wish that Canada was more like China. What concerns me is that 85 million Americans voted for that agenda. There's no escaping that.
That's real, and I would really like to ask some of these folks, what did you vote for? What did you really vote for when you vote for guys like Fetterman? What are you voting for? He's going to release criminals. You happy about that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd really like to know what their mindset is when they go.
I have a theory.
Oh, you do?
Well, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you, but I've thought I've thought a lot about this.
Well, I have too, and I keep coming up to a brick wall. I guess I ought to ask our friend, our progressive friend, what his thoughts are and why he would vote for. I kind of have an idea of what he would say. Well, there's a lot of wrongs past that need to be rectified and made right, and it's a work in progress. This is not a final act on this country. It's a work in progress to try and make it a better place as we move along.
But let me ask you. Here's my. I just want to ask you. Well, I'm going to ask you a little question to lead up to the. What do you think is the most powerful? Is more powerful in terms of inciting human behavior? Okay, meaning taking action, things you do as your mindset, your emotions, causes a bigger reaction. Love or hate? I'm talking about this world that we're living in. I'm not trying to lead you if you want to be in prayer, Mason, but I'm not talking about from a believer standpoint. I'm talking about an analysis of this world, which is a fallen world. When Jesus came, he said, the devil was here long before Jesus was. And the Garden of Eden happened before Jesus got here.
I think the greatest demonstrable emotion would be hate. Because you can see it. Mm-hmm. You can feel it. You can read it.
Mm-hmm.
Love is a lot different.
I believe that. Excuse me. And I believe out of those 85 million people.
And I don't use the word hate. That's a
it's a rough one, but it's out there in the world. Just look at the world.
I know. But
there's Ukrainians that hate Russians. There's Russians that hate Ukrainians.
I understand.
Excuse me.
It's just not a word that I would.
No, I agree. I hate the word hate.
The only time I use the word hate is when I talk about cancer.
Yeah.
I do hate cancer.
Well, the Bible said there's a time for the hate, but it's got to be a righteous motivation for that. Hating sin.
But I think the most emotional response that we're seeing now from a lot of the folks is a very visceral, hateful feeling.
Well, and I think you're absolutely right. Here's what I think. I think out of those 85 million people, there's a substantial number that do love America. They're not for breaking up the nuclear family. They're all for mom, dad. They are for having some sensible controls on the border, to having a secure border. I believe they think those things are important. Okay, some of them don't love America. I think a lot of them do. As I said, traditional values. Enough of them, I think, like America and the traditional values. But I truly think that they hate Trump and anything Trump more than they love the liberty and freedom in America. That they would be willing to abdicate those freedoms, as crazy as it sounds, to wipe Trump and what they think Trumpism is off the face of the political landscape. Now, people go, well, that's a big, think about it. I know people that I'm describing right now. That's where I got it. It hit me in bed one night. I'm sitting there thinking about this. And and it's not just one isolated instance. I have many friends who voted for Biden because they hated Trump. And when I would talk to them about what was at stake for America, they would acknowledge it. But their thing is, we got to get rid of Trump. And I said, well, what are you talking about? Getting rid of Trump and voting for somebody who's going to take away those freedoms and liberties that you 5 minutes ago told me were so near and dear to you. Right. And you're willing to do that? And the answer is, yes, they are. And I've got the kicker to this. These are people that I truly admire. I admire their wisdom up to this point. I love their advice, their counseling. The hatred for Trump has infiltrated the DNA of people on the left and a substantial number of the Democratic Party who do not identify themselves as woke left. As mainstream Democrats have somehow bought into this. And my point is, look, please, there's an old adage, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You hate Trump, you hate the orange man, this or that, okay, whatever you're going to do. But the way these folks are talking, that what I call the common sense Democrats have not completely lost their mind, is you're saying that personal liberties and freedoms, non-burdensome taxation for families, businesses, and individuals, a secure border, a peace through strength, energy independence, is something that Trump came up with. He didn't come up with that. Have you heard of Ronald Reagan? And you know what? He was the first one to tell you he didn't come up with that. It goes all the way back to the founding fathers. They were willing to give their lives for freedom and liberty against the tyrant King George. And I'm just so perplexed and disheartened, for some reason, that good, sensible people have bought into this, I hate Trump more than freedom, and I'm willing to give away a lot of my freedoms. Not just a smidgen, a whole, as we say in the South, a whole mess of my freedoms just to get rid of this guy. You know, take a quick break. When we come back, I just want your thoughts. I'll let you ponder that little soliloquy. Folks, thank you for being here, man. I've missed y'all so much. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. This Georgia Bullett's going to give his take on it, who's going to win, and I'm going to give you my take. And we're also going to talk about Trump's suggestion that they change the Constitution. For that, we'll be right back.
I like this camera shot here, Jeremy, because it takes me from here up so people can't see my big fat body. Tried to hide it with this gray shirt, but if you keep the camera angle right there, I'm good.
Hey, Jeremy, can you give me kind of like the neighbor on Home Improvement look? Just my eyes looking over the thing there.
What was that guy's name?
I don't.
I know his real name. I knew the actor's name, but I can't remember his character's name.
And Laura, I don't know if Laura's still on the line, but if you are, I just looked up and saw before we went to break that she has something on the Hunter Biden. We want to get that, if not today, tomorrow. But if she comes back online, we'll welcome more. But I want to get this take on the Georgia. Is she still on? Oh, okay. All righty. All right, sounds good.
Check your camera shot. I got the home improvement going.
I like that. All right. When I call for the home improvement shot, hit me with that. Oh, man. You got Chewy ready? I think we need Chewy to start the second segment.
Chewy.
Maybe you didn't watch the George and Tammy. Hey, folks, have you seen that George and Tammy series on Showtime about George Jones and Tammy Wynette? Good one.
Is it good?
One episode. Well, I'm a big George Jones. I like Tammy Wynette. It's called Stand By Your Man. She took a lot of flack for that. But I love the lady who's playing her. I guess she's an Academy Award winner.
Isn't that Jessica Chastain?
Yes, Jessica Chastain, who I never knew before that. I got to see more movies. All I know is Rock and Marlon Brando. How about that for a scope? Huh? But George Jones, I don't know how people, I tell you, the king of country. And George was a big fan of In the Heat of the Night. One of those humbling experiences I've ever had. Yes. He actually sent me a letter.
30 seconds?
George
an autograph.
Jones did?
Yes.
The possum?
Wanted an autograph picture of me.
Oh, he must have been sober for
No, he must have been drunk. Oh, man. I did a pretty good George Jones. Ready? All the bars are all closed. It's 4 in
10
the
seconds?
morning. Must have shut 'em all down.
5 seconds?
By the shape that I'm in. To be continued later.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
Get on up. Get on up.
Get on up.
Get on up.
Get on up now.
Baby, get on up. All right, let's start the second segment of this Georgia runoff thing. God, what are we doing having elections in the middle of December, right before Pearl Harbor? I need some motivation. You got Chewy on the line. He'd always give them. Yes, I'm ready. I feel like Macho Man Savage in the second segment. Let me tell you about the Georgia election here. All Lord Herschel Walker needs is to get a Slim Jim. Eat him a Slim Jim, he'll beat Warnock by 5 points. Yeah.
What do you think Walter Brennan would say?
Yeah.
What would Walter Brennan say about
Yeah, Johnny, having these elections in December, it's just not right. We got there Pearl Harbor Day tomorrow now. There, Georgia just thinking about a god darn election. It's just not right, buddy.
That's very good.
All right, here we go. Watch who wins. I'm gonna let you go first, and I will sadly give my take on what happens tonight. They're voting now. The early voting starts. Sorry, go Bullet. Go ahead.
I would say Warnock's probably going to win.
Yeah.
I think it'll be close, but Warnock will pull it off. He's got Metro, Atlanta. There's been a lot of early voting, a lot of Democrat early voting. But I just think he's got too much behind him. It's one of the most expensive Senate races. A lot of money spent on both sides. But I think Warnock.
Sadly, I agree with you. And hopefully, the Seinfeld syndrome will kick in. You know what Seinfeld says?
What's the Seinfeld?
Well, Seinfeld says anything that I choose, just do the opposite.
Oh, okay.
Anything in my mind. Like the grocery store is up at the corner and to the left. I kind of forgot. We'll go to the corner and turn right. And I found that to be true. Betting on football games and all that. So let me just state that out right now. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm totally wrong. I hope I eat my words tomorrow. I'll bring, a bowl. I'll eat them with no sugar on it. I'll just eat them, spoon them in my mouth. They'll be flopping out all over the place. And I'll be eagerly eating my words if I'm wrong on this. But dadgum, how dumb and self-serving. I'm not going to mince words here. Because I've been in the political business. Not that I know everything, but I know some things. I know some basic tenets. And so do they. They meaning the people who many of the people who purport to support Herschel Walker. This election leading up to it, right after, and it actually started before the actual election, but from the election night when he was, a few tenths of a percentage behind Warnock, to where we are now is an absolute textbook on how to lose an election. Okay? Let me quickly tell you why. I get worked up on this because I think Herschel Walker's a great guy. He's a smart guy. But you have the political opportunists under the disguise or purporting to come in and really be for for Herschel, rather. That they're supporting him. And I'm not saying they don't, but I believe it's second to their other desires. They mean, and in particular, I'm going to pick out two people, Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz. You know, your people have told you, you're pushing turnout Republicans. Heard it again the other day and watched it. Herschel Walker in the middle, Lindsey Graham on his right, Ted Cruz on the left. That does nothing to, number one, help you win the election. Number two, you're not going to inspire any more Republicans to turn out that already aren't inspired. Okay? You have to peel some undecided black vote, in particular, black men who like Herschel but voted for Warnock, that are reconsidering, hearing where these folks stand, and they don't have their mind made up. And there is a racial component to this. I'm sorry that's race is everywhere. It is. I wish it wasn't. But there is an absolute clear racial component to this. And the left, Warnock's people, are kicking Herschel Walker's team's butt on that. You need to go out and focus. It's too late now, but you need to go into every black neighborhood, and Herschel Walker needs to go with Tim Scott, Ben Carson. You know, there's several, the congressman from Florida. You got some of his athlete friends in the NFL, black athlete friends that are out there. They're there. But I know for a fact they didn't reach out to anybody. What happened? I believe Herschel got mesmerized. He got intimidated by these politicians. I think he really looked up and admired the politicians. I think he watches them on Fox News all the time. They're celebrities now in his mind. And they didn't let Herschel be Herschel. And let me tell you something. Herschel's smart. I draw the comparison to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens. Yep. Because
great quarterback.
Yes, and smart. He tested tremendously high on this aptitude test. But he didn't communicate as articulately as the media were expecting. He mispronounced some words. He grammatically made some errors. But he was smart, and he had a great heart. His teammates love him. The fans love him. They love Herschel. Herschel's going to be Herschel. Let him make the grammatical error. Don't come on night after night, Lindsey Graham, and try to play the crooked televangelist and go off and tell me how they're beating up on Herschel. Yeah, they are. Every single night begging for money. Herschel's in the middle. Then they go to Ted Cruz. And Ted Cruz is going to run for president. You know what he polls at right now, running president? 3%. Ted Cruz does nothing for you. Did you know that Ted Cruz has a book out now? Could that explain why he wants to be on camera all the time? Why he went on this barnstorming tour across the country? I'm not saying that Ted Cruz doesn't care about his country, but there's conflicts there. They did not focus on those African-American votes that are out there that could have been won over if Herschel's team would have went there with the right people. They have the right message, but the right people that made African-American voters feel a little more safe going with Herschel. And let's face it, Lindsey Graham's not going to make too many African-American people feel safe. I'm not saying he's a racist, Bobby. I'm not saying that. It just is what it is. I mean, Lindsey Graham and charisma and the ability to sway black votes.
Well, when you put it like that, sounds pretty ridiculous.
Oh, let's send somebody down there to Herb Churchill. Forget about Tim Scott. Let's send Lindsey Graham to help with the black vote.
Well,
and then Ted Cruz comes in there with his his Lucifer beard. He needs to shave that sucker automatically. Your beard's nice. You should use your beard. But he comes in there,
a little rough today.
and my fear is that Warnock's going to win tonight, and hopefully it's a lesson.
If he does,
Yeah,
yes. I was just going to get to that. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go, please do. I could go on forever with this, and people don't want to hear it.
I hope that there is a lesson learned from this. The pattern that you just laid out should have been the one that they followed. Now, it still may not have been as effective as it in getting him a victory, but wouldn't common sense? I mean, I'll tell you what.
Exactly.
Wouldn't bringing some of Herschel's NFL buddies
Absolutely.
down, what would that do to an African American man of our age, or even younger?
Let me tell you something. That Biden, I'm not saying Biden would have lost without him. On your point, don't think for 1 second, folks, that The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, throwing his support and his endorsement behind Joe Biden didn't help him. I hate to say it. Celebrity influence is huge. And he was the right guy, wholesome guy.
Yep.
And you're absolutely right.
The fact that they didn't take advantage of that, it blows me away. It really does. And I just, not that I'm a great political strategist or would know how to run a campaign of anything for dog catcher, but you just have so much opportunity there to present your case, and you don't take advantage of it, then I guess shame on you.
That's where I get real cynical. I do believe they know that. They, again, meaning,
then that's,
Mike Huckabee. I respect Mike Huckabee. I respect Lindsey Graham. I respect Cruz.
That's even worse.
But to think that they didn't think that through, and then the old cynical thing comes. I think this cynicism is well earned. For 8 years, I spent a lot of time in Sacramento, a lot of time in Washington, D.C., lobbying on behalf of Fresno. We were left behind, and we won't get into that. That's another show. A lot of time. And in 8 years, you learn the culture. You learn what the big motivators are, what the small motivators are with these politicians, what are deal makers, deal breakers, and that sort of thing. And there is no more powerful force at work in national politics than personally promoting yourself. The worst nightmare of any politician, right or left, is to be voted out of office. So they're constantly looking, where can I help me? You don't see this selfless sacrifice going into an area where it may hurt me. That's why you don't see politicians standing by too many people that get in unwarranted hot water with the woke left. They run like scalded dogs from it. Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz, I'm convinced, subconsciously or even consciously, they wanted to be the kingmaker. They wanted to be the one that got Herschel elected. They're the one that saved the Senate. And therefore, by saving the Senate, they saved America. They wanted to be the Joe Manchin of the Republican Party. I believe that with all my heart. And so you go in there and oh my gosh, I'm going to say it's all, but you don't even let the man talk. You look like you're Jeff Dunham and Herschel Walker's the dummy there. And that's, I'm going to say,
sad.
Racism can be subtle. You can feel like you don't have it. And you're doing things that they call it soft racism. You're thinking, he really just can't handle it. Let me come in and handle it for him. Why? Because he doesn't speak as smoothly as you, and he can't con as many people as you, Lindsey and Ted. He hasn't learned the art of the con. Could it be maybe that's what endears him to people? That maybe the voters see that, and that's why they like him. They'd rather see him not say a sentence properly than to get in there and do this, this edgy political babble that you hear all the time, and all these cliches you hear all the time. But anyway, I think he's going to lose. Again, I hope I'm wrong. And if I do that, I will even say, okay, I still think even if he wins, it was a bad strategy. They will have won despite very glaring political strategy errors. I will do that. But let's go to Laura, because I wanted to hit this subject. We had a few we teased him for, but this information on Hunter Biden, because This is not going away, folks. This could very well lead to either the impeachment of Joe Biden or his resignation. I believe that with all my heart. Laura, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, you said you got some DOJ info on Hunter Biden and that laptop?
Well, I got a bunch of FOIAs in the mail today, responses to my FOIAs, and they weren't good. There are some adjacent investigations that are happening that pertain to Hunter Biden that they have been extremely quiet about. The media hasn't talked about. There was a lobbying firm called Blue Star Strategy that was founded by a former advisor to Anthony Blinken when he served as Deputy Secretary of State of the Obama administration after he left Joe Biden's office. And this woman and her team went to Ukraine. Hunter Biden facilitated an introduction to the president of Burisma, the CEO and the board, and basically promised them that if they hired them, that they would be given unfettered access to President-elect Hillary Clinton back in 2016. And there were a lot of other promises made to other Ukrainian oil companies as well. And so I put in a request because I looked at the charges that they were investigated for. I wanted a copy of the indictment because they were indicted. But they would not give me a copy of their FARAs, their registration for acting as a foreign agent, and yet they're not charged with it, acting as a foreign agent without registration. But those were denied. Why would they be denied? Those are supposed to be public records, so I'm not happy about that. Number two, I put in some requests for Anthony Blinken because here's the problem where I see the problem coming with this Hunter Biden investigation. I don't think they're going to be able to connect enough dots from Hunter Biden to Joe Biden. And the reason why is because 90% of those transactions, those acquisitions, were done by Anthony Blinken. And Anthony Blinken's sole job in that was to shield Joe Biden. I'm telling you, I know this. I believe it with all my heart. Because Hunter Biden, number one, isn't bright enough to do this. If he wasn't the son of the President of the United States, he'd be cooking meth in a trailer park somewhere.
Yeah. No, that's
so I'm
sadly
serious.
true.
I mean, seriously, I mean, I kind of feel sorry for the guy because he spent his whole life knowing he wasn't the favorite child, and that's why he did all the stuff that he's done. Try to get his father's approval. It's pathetic. But anyway, back to Anthony Blinken. Unless they go after him and crawl up that man's behind with a microscope, you're not going to find any smoking gun between Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. I've gone through 136,000 emails, and there is no smoking gun, unfortunately. And it's because of Anthony Blinken. And every single FOIA I have submitted for anything regarding Anthony Blinken has been denied. I have 11 of them.
Well,
And then the only other thing that I'm going to send some of this stuff to Kevin McCarthy. He might think I'm insane, but that's okay. A lot of people do.
Well, you know what? I know Kevin.
Anyway.
I know him, and I'll send him a heads up. I will send Kevin an email to look out for your stuff.
Okay, because
he's a friend.
I told you about the whole Romanian cache of emails, right? That the New York Times is trying to get their hands on. The State Department said they wouldn't even process the FOIA until April 2023. So I sent one in just to see what I would get back. Here's the thing. They didn't even supposedly have access to that laptop, the hard drive, or anything else until after 2020. That's when it was all leaked and everything else like that. That's when they supposedly were it, and that's all BS because you know what? The date of those Romanian emails on this FOIA says 2008. Where did they get them?
Wow.
And why won't they let us see them? This is the only thing that I really think they might be able to get a connection on and hit with Joe Biden and James Biden because that whole Romanian situation was very, very sketchy.
You know, I think that's why Bob Alinsky, this fellow, the business partner, when he asked...
Oh, yeah, Tony Bobulinski?
Yeah. Remember, Laura, when he asked Jim Biden, how do you guys get away with this? And he laughed and said plausible deniability. And that's what you're describing right now through, this corruption laundered through Blinken.
Well, I think the way Blinken has set it up, because up until Devin Archer, who was a former business partner of Hunter Biden, Devin Archer was the one that handled financial transactions between Joe and Hunter's accounts, but he always itemized it. And so I did get a copy of Joe Biden's tax returns, the $26,000 that was spent to repair the seawall that was paid for. All of those things were declared on his taxes, but that's how he's getting around it, because Hunter Biden isn't just handing him cash. Hunter Biden is buying and paying for everything, supporting his lifestyle, and then Joe Biden supports it to the IRS.
Oh, boy.
So that's technically not illegal, and I believe in my whole heart that Anthony Blinken he's the source key to all of this.
You said that, and I agree with you. You do a little homework on Blinken, and you see who he's connected
his name
with.
Comes up in a lot of
he's
stuff.
As Laura will tell you, she's an expert on this, and it just jumps out at you how much money he's made dealings with these defense contractors overseas. It's just enormous amounts of money, and it just seems like every scandal you talk about in terms of the Obama administration and Biden administration. And it is what is it? It looks like almost every road leads in some way back to Anthony Blinken's involvement in it.
Everything from Ukraine to the Chinese company that Hunter Biden was partnered with, almost all of those smaller facial recognition companies that were on the human rights blacklist, that somehow it was okay for Hunter Biden to buy.
Yeah.
Pine Island Capital bought them from him.
I hope that the Republicans, put people in places of authority, special counsel or whatever, that can really dig into this stuff. And I'll just go ahead and say it. I'm not, going to float your boat or anything, but somebody that has the intellect of you, Laura, has the work ethic of you, that cares about America, that loves America like you do, and willing to put in the enormous amounts of time to do their due diligence on this, because it is buried. There's as you said, a mountain and a cesspool of emails and dots to connect with those emails. It's going to be just a daunting task. Let me ask you this. You don't remember this because you're too young, but when the Nixon scandal and Watergate, there was.
I know all about it.
Okay.
My grandpa told me all about it.
Okay. Well, it seems to me, that there was information there, obviously, but the dots being connected, he had plausible deniability. But then there was the whistleblower, John Dean, coming forward. And my hope is you have somebody coming forth like a John Dean in this particular issue, because it's not, you're right, they're too smart. It's not going to be on an email. They're going to, money for the big guy,
Money, Alan.
What's that?
You're talking about ridiculous amounts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that cobalt mine is worth $14 billion.
Yeah.
There's so much money in this that I'm sorry, but I think that anyone and everyone who has been connected to this in any way has their hands in that cookie jar in one way or another. And I really believe that Anthony Blinken, the person who facilitated all of this, and the number one thing that I think he and Biden took this up because he knew Hunter is a useful idiot, and Hunter is desperate for his father's approval. He's going to do whatever they tell him to. And Blinken went in and set it all up to kill Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And leave Hunter Biden spinning in the wind. Hey,
Laura, we just got this. We just got a few minutes left, but stay on the line here because we just got breaking news that the Trump Organization entities convicted on all counts of fraud in New York. What that means, I don't know. In terms of Trump Organization, that means that Trump himself will have culpability and all that. But it's just, Laura, on the news right now. Bob, what's your take? And then Laura, your quick take. We got about 2.5 minutes. What do you know?
If convicted on all felonies, that pretty much ends his political career, does it not?
I don't know if it's the company. I think personally, if they can connect it to him personally. Laura, what's
they're going to try and do that.
Yeah, well, the conviction's already come down. So the entities being convicted have already been determined. So I don't know if it's him personally or the company, if it's accountants. You got any thoughts on that, Laura, before we got about 2 minutes left?
That's the company, and he's going to be on the hook for, what, $460 million? So, and he won't be able to do business in the state of New York anymore. So the company will probably have to be dissolved, and then they'll probably reopen it down here. Yes, but that's only civil. However, whatever evidence that they have to substantiate the civil fraud is going to go to the district attorney in Manhattan, who's still got an active criminal fraud case against him.
Okay. So this is the civil aspect of it, and now it goes to the criminal aspect.
Criminal would be.
Well, I think he saw that coming. He moved a lot of his stuff down to Florida and that sort of thing. That's going to be that's not good news for for Trump for sure. But I think it was something people thought was going to happen, don't you? I think it was,
I think somebody needs to throw a net over Trump and shut him up.
Well, we're going to talk tomorrow. If you can call in tomorrow, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, because this whole thing about changing the Constitution or just suspending the Constitution, I mean that's why, you don't even make a statement like that can be construed. He says, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. You got to have enough feel for words and phrasing. And that's why I like DeSantis, as you fondly call him, DeSatan, over Trump, because he knows not to set these, put himself in front of the firing squad willingly by saying these things like that, saying suspend and Constitution in the same sentence. You're going to get to, But anyway, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Laura, thank you for calling. We're running out of time here.
Real quick, I got to tell you something. You're getting a box next week for Christmas. I included a pocket United States Constitution for everybody that works.
You're the best, Laura. God bless you. God bless you and your family. We love you so much. Bullet Bob, thank you. Jeremy behind the old switchboard there, thank you. And most importantly, folks, thank you. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. God bless you. God bless America. And just remember, do your best. Let God do the rest. That's the best decision you can ever make. Bye-bye now. Yeah.